This nigga is shitting on him like crazy. No laxatives, bro. Huh? What is going on? You gotta be tugging on my dingling right now. What the fuck was that?
So recently the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet epilogue ended up releasing. And with the epilogue now being out, we're really not going to be getting any new content for Scarlet and Violet. We'll of course have stuff like events, we'll most likely still be getting some updates down the line, and the competitive scene for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is overall doing very good right now. But other than that, we're really not going to be getting anything new when it comes to story. And with February coming very soon, that also most likely means that we're going to be getting a Pokémon Presents. And with most Pokémon Presents in February, they usually like to announce a new game or at least some type of new content for a game. And with that being a case, there's been a lot of talk about what's going to be the next mainline Pokemon game. Some people think it's going to be a new Johto remake. Some people think it's going to be a Black and White remake. Some are even saying that it's going to be a Black and White 2 sequel. And after Legends Arceus, a lot of people are kind of hoping that we get some type of brand new Legends, I don't know, Ho-Oh or some type of Legends Unova game. But the main thing that I've been thinking about since I finished the story for Scarlet and Violet is really, do we need another Pokemon game at this moment? And even though I'm a big fan of Pokemon, as much as I hate to say it, we really do not need a new game anytime soon right now. And there are a few reasons why I say that. First reason why is the quality of some of the most recent Pokemon games. Ever since the Pokemon games have come to the Switch, the quality of the games has been very up and down. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee had some of the least amount of content in a Pokemon game on the Switch, but throughout all the Switch games, I feel like those are at least some of the most polished games that we have right now. While Sword and Shield can definitely run well on the Switch, this game got criticized to hell for how bad it looked at times. And I think most people who were up to date with that game are well aware of the infamous tree image. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I don't even like talking about these games honestly. Not only is the game really ugly at times, this game having the least amount of content when it comes to a remake is actually terrible. The only redeeming factor of that game is the fact that it was made in Unity, meaning a bunch of people have been able to mod the game and actually add stuff that they wanted. But that really should not be the case. Pokemon Legends Arceus was by far one of the best games that we gotten on the Switch right now, and while the game does not look all that pleasing graphically at times, it was still much better than what the last two games gave us. And I'm not even going to speak on Scarlet and Violet because it would just feel like I'm beating a dead horse. Even before the game launched, a lot of people were giving this game criticism. Whether it be the graphics or the performance that was being seen in the trailers, people were not impressed. And it hurts too, cause as somebody who bought the game on release date and practically 100% the game at this point, this game is really not that bad. Like, I would even argue that it's one of the best Pokemon games, not even on the Switch, but some of the best Pokemon games that we've gotten. It's definitely not number 1 or number 2, but it's definitely like a top 10, maybe even top 5 Pokemon game. But once again, with the quality of these games just being all over the place, it really makes you wonder, do we really need a remake right now? Pokemon is just really at a point where they really have to focus on the quality of their games. And this kind of ties into my next point, which is the timing of these games being released. If you're an average Pokemon fan who's new to the series, being fed a new Pokemon game every year just sounds fucking amazing. But after a while, you're just gonna be full of what's being served to you, and you're just gonna want it to stop. And I think that's what should be happening with Pokemon right now. To put things in perspective, they've been making a new Pokemon game every single year since 2016. When you really look at it like that, it really starts to make sense why the quality of the game just proceeded to just go down over the years. Even the most hardcore Pokemon fan could probably agree that there just needs to be a break. Now, of course, there's probably more reasons as to why Pokemon is the way it is right now, but I wanted to talk about these two things in particular because I think these are the reasons the series is as it is right now. But let's hypothetically think. If they were to announce a new Pokemon game this year, what would it even be? One thing that people have been speculating is a possible Johto remake. The same way the Kanto games got a remake with Fire Red and Leaf Green, and then Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, people have been talking about how the next Johto game could be a Let's Go Johto or a Let's Go Pichu and Maru, but I don't think they're going to be doing that. And if they do, they're not going to really do it in the style of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Because keep in mind, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came out around the time Pokemon Go was still very popular. So much so that they ended up removing the Safari Zone from the original games and then replacing it with its own Pokemon Go type of style thing. But fast forward to now and Pokemon Go is not as popular as it used to be. Of course, it still gets a lot of support, but it's not going to be like how it was back in 2016, 2017. And along with the game having a bunch of problems that have made people mad with it, it just would not make sense for them to make another game based off of Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So I'm going to be counting these games out. And then the next games that we have are the Unova games. Some people are thinking that we're going to get a Unova remake for Black and White, and some people are even saying that we might get a new sequel for Black 2 and White 2. And in my honest opinion, we are not getting another sequel. And the reason for that is just we do not need one. Black 2 and White 2 basically wrapped up everything that we needed to know. But as for a remake, that's bound to happen. I know a lot of people do not want a remake for these games, and it's mostly because the original games are already so good that a remake wouldn't seem that necessary. And while I can somewhat agree with that, there's nothing wrong with these games getting a remake. The problem is that they have to make the remakes good. Like, as much as I like the original Gold, Silver, and Crystal, I would play Heart Gold and Soul Silver over and over again before I ever played the originals. And while I know some people may have a problem with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, at the end of the day, these are still really good remakes that I think are way better than the originals. They just need to really put everything they can into a Black and White remake. And there's actually one last thing that I forgot to mention for both Johto and Unova, but a lot of people really want one of these games to be in a style of Legends Arceus. And I don't really blame people because Legends Arceus is generally just a great Pokemon game. But the possibility of getting a game like that this year is extremely low. Legends Arceus was in development a whole year before Gen 8 even came out. So for them to work on a game that long, that's just so different from the usual playstyle that we're used to when it comes to Pokemon, we would not be getting any type of game like that anytime soon. Now, do I want a game like that? Yes. While I feel like every region could kind of get the Legend style, I feel like Unova and mostly Johto would possibly benefit from those games even more. The only other game that I could think that could benefit from a style like that is maybe Kalos, and that's only because the story in the original game sucks. But overall, do I think we're going to be seeing a change with Pokemon moving forward? Maybe. I think it's starting to become clear that Game Freak knows that there's going to be some issues going on. From the lack of them doing interviews since the release of Sword and Shield, and how some of the developers have noticed all the problems with the game and have acknowledged them, they could be making some changes with how they approach the games. But at the same time, this is Game Freak we're talking about. As much as I love them for creating these games, they also make some of the most stupidest decisions when it comes to making these games as well. Like in Black and White, the only way you could change the difficulty is if you beat the game first, and depending on which version of the game you bought, you either got the easy mode or the hard mode, and the only way you could have both easy and hard mode was if you connected with somebody who had the opposite version of the game, or how in Sword and Shield they thought it would be a good idea to hide the sound settings with an NPC that you could easily miss. They just make a lot of decisions with these games that I feel like if they just did not do them, they could be putting a lot more time into improving them. But one last thing, and I think this is one of the overall big issues with Pokemon, and this doesn't even have to do with Game Freak, it's just marketing. Despite how big Pokemon is, it is a marketing machine, and they will do whatever they can to push out whatever product they need to in time. Because just think about it, before Gen 9, every time a new game came out, we would be seeing new trading cards. We would be seeing new seasons of the anime taking place in that region. Even less popular Pokemon media like the Pokemon manga. These series would be starting to come out around the time these games would come out as well. The Pokemon company will do whatever they can to market whatever new game is coming out. So if a game is bad at launch, this will just be a thing that we'll have to get used to until they get their shit figured out. Because moving forward, as much as I love Scarlet and Violet, like I said, I am not going to be paying full price for these games moving forward. I'm just going to wait like a day or two or maybe even a week and pick up these games from somebody who's selling the game for like $20, maybe even $30 off its original price. Y'all make sure y'all have a good night. I'm out.
Be honest with me, bro. Do you actually like black people, yes or no, bro? What? No fucking